Good afternoon, everybody. I'm seeing the numbers start jumping up. I've never got to say good afternoon before. This
I
is fun. I mean,
know.
for those of you that are like regulars with us, this is not a normal thing. You might catch Alicia and I in a weird phase of our day. I don't
It's
know.
true.
How are you feeling this afternoon, Alicia?
I'm feeling pretty good. I knew we had this today. Very excited about it. This is my favorite topic, but I knew we had it at a modified time. And my first panic this morning was like, oh, wait, are we doing it at 9? And I was like, my mouth isn't working that early, but we moved it to 1. So we're good.
So you guys are going to get us out of our like coffee high. And now we're into kind of our afternoon lull. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun regardless, but we are
I'm
excited
still
to
on
have.
a coffee high.
Oh, good. Just keep the caffeine coming in, right? Well, as people keep pouring in, I want to make sure that we start some of the conversation. You guys know that we love having this be a back and forth and a conversation, and we will do some Q&A time at the end of this as well. But if you haven't, hop on the chat, make sure open that chat functionality and click that little blue button right above where you're going to type for a chat and choose the everyone option. It automatically puts it on hosts and panelists, which means only we get to see it. I want to make sure you guys all chat in and start a conversation here. And here's my question for you that we're going to start with. Do you like the 4 seasons? Are you somebody that likes seasons? Do you like fall? Do you like winter? Do you not? This may depend on where you're from, but I'm seeing a lot of yes. I'm seeing people from all over the place. So let's just start some conversation, having fun there. I do want to let you know, though, that that's one of the 2 ways to communicate with us. The other one is the Q&A option. So it's right next to the chat option in Zoom here. If you click Q&A, that's a really great spot to put a real important question, something that you think, I'm probably not the only person that has this, right? Open up the Q&A. We've got Ray and Michelle, who are wonderful people who are here to help kind of monitor the Q&A. But as you can see, the chat gets real crazy. It starts flying when there's a lot of stuff going on. So we want to make sure that the Q&A is a great place for really important questions that we just don't want to lose, right? So use both of those, depending on kind of what you're needing. Make sure that you're using both of those sort of things. One thing, as I'm thinking about this, Alicia, one thing that we don't often do is kind of introduce ourselves. We do this so often that I think we assume everybody's on all of the same things. So Alicia, I'm going to let you go first, but just give a quick summation of who you are, what you do, all those fun things.
Yeah. Well, my name is Alicia. My role here at BombBomb is national speaker. I've been here for 6.5 years. I've kind of worked through a few different roles, much like Kevin has, but as a national speaker, I spend a large portion of my time, teaching and doing these kinds of sessions. But this topic today is my favorite topic because as long as I've been here at BombBomb for 6.5 years, I know that most often the reason why people aren't utilizing video at the level they should in their business is this issue, is their lack of confidence in it. So I do a lot of talking about confidence, and I'm excited to be with you guys today.
So Alicia brings so much information. She's talked with so many clients. It's awesome, all the different perspectives she'll bring in. And we actually started working together on the sales team when I started 5 years ago. You were on the sales team as well. So we've kind of been on multiple sides of this. We've been similar to a lot of you. We've been in a sales atmosphere where we've been kind of learning that sort of stuff. So I've been here for 5 years. I'm on our customer success team now as our client enablement manager, which is really just a fancy way of saying I get to help people. I get to work with people like you all the time. So we are so excited to kind of dive into this. Alicia and I are not short on things to talk about when it comes to this topic. So let's dive into this because I want to give you a quick breakdown. We always want to build really good expectations as far as what you guys can expect for this hour. So first and foremost, we want to talk about what is causing this discomfort, right? We're all talking about comfort on camera. I think you were aware of that when you signed up for it, but what causes this nervousness, this discomfort, some of those sort of things? We're going to talk through it in multiple ways, right? First is working through the internal challenges that comes with this discomfort that causes some of those sort of things. And then heck, there's external challenges as well. So that's really how we're going to break it down. And then, like I mentioned, we're going to leave some time for Q&A. But I do want to let you all know, like I mentioned, we like to build really good expectations. This is going to be a little bit more of an introspective webinar. We're not going to go through a lot of technical, how do you do this? How do you fix that? We do have some real life, I'll say sort of technical things that we're going to talk at the end of how you can help overcome this through some of these technical things. But if you're here going, I want to learn how to use video, I want to dive into the nuts and bolts of how to use the BombBomb system, this may not be what we dive into very much on this webinar. And like I said, it's not to avoid that. It's just to let you know what to expect over the next hour of talking. Because trust me, we've been on to a lot of webinars where I'm like, this is not what I thought we were going to be talking about. So I like to build that from the get-go. But let's dive in. I already see some Q&As coming in, but let's dive into some of this stuff, and then we'll start monitoring a lot of those pieces, because I already see some of these questions are things we're going to be talking about as we keep going on.
I love it.
But let's talk about what the problem is, right? What's holding us back? We talked about this discomfort and some of those sort of things. What are some of the standard ones that you hear when people mention this to you about, like, I'm nervous to be on camera?
I mean, the first and most common is the one I've already seen people in the chat saying it. The most common one is that I don't like the way I look, or I don't like the sound of my own voice. This is definitely the most common one. But, one of the things that I think people forget is that we are used to experiencing ourselves from inside of our own head all the time, right? Even I think Zoom has helped us a little bit, because people are more used to seeing themselves on camera. But it's still a different experience when it's happening live than when you record it and watch it back, because now you're experiencing yourself from outside of your own head, except, not in the real time. So that's definitely the most common one. The second one we hear a lot, right? People always want scripts. I don't know what to say. Well, you do to a certain extent, right? The video isn't about like presenting yourself like a newscaster or having this, prepared script. So this is about communication. So we are going to help you with that. We're always trying to help you with that, but that's definitely a second one, right? The camera turns on and we suddenly freeze. Yep.
Yeah, totally. And we've all had those moments. I had to record a video 3 times this morning because I would get halfway through and they'd just be like, what am I talking about? Like, we talk all the time about don't re-record all of your videos a bunch of times because they're never going to be perfect, right? But there are times when you just lose your train of thought. And I've already seen some chats come in on that. There's some Q&As about what to say, or scripts suggested. We are going to talk a little bit more specifically about this one, but just know that you're not alone in that. Sometimes you get distracted, your phone rings, your kid walks in the back, right? Like, I think these are all interesting things. Number 3 there, I think, has really risen up the ranks for me lately. Have you been seeing that too, Alicia, with COVID and working from home?
Yep. Well, and, we'll talk about this a little bit with backgrounds, but I feel like, especially when a lot of people started working from home, there was that fear that like, yeah, but it doesn't look professional if I send a video from my house, or like, I want it to be perfect. Everyone has always wanted green screens and backgrounds, and we'll get into that. But, it's not necessarily an advantage to you. Your perfectionism, it actually could be hindering some of your success with video. And we're going to talk about that.
There's some great quotes I've heard about it's don't let the perfect ruin the okay, right? That the fact that it's still going to be a good video, don't let that perfectionist aside. And I think a lot of us are guilty of that. I can speak from personal experience for sure. And then the last one that I think we are starting to hear a lot as well is, this is just new to me, right? I don't want to look silly. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm doing. This bleeds a little bit of that perfectionist side, but I think we all want to feel confident as we're jumping into something new. And that's hard to do. It's hard to feel confident in every new piece, especially if video is something that is so outside of your realm, right? That can feel very intimidating. And that's why people want to know what to say. That's why they want scripts. There's been a couple of Q&As. I think it was Natasha that was asking, are you going to tell us what to do in lieu of scripts, or those sort of things? Yes, spoiler, we will definitely talk through some strategies. And if you were with us last month, we talked about a little bit of this as well, which is really great. But I wanted to open it up to you guys as well on what makes you nervous. What do you think is holding you back? So I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll real quick of just what's the main thing that holds you back from recording as many videos as you want, right? Yeah. Pick the one that maybe it's technology. Maybe it's that this is new. I'm not comfortable with that. Maybe it's, I'm just not sure about video and if it's actually effective, right? Fear, discomfort. We've got votes flying in. So
right now we're at 60% for fear and uncomfortability, which is what I said at the beginning, right? Like, I know it's a thing, but what I would call all of these, while you guys are taking a minute to answer those, like, I refer to all of these as self-limiting beliefs, right? There is nothing about any of these things on the screen that have to keep you from being successful with video. right? There is, in fact, we're going to dive into these a little bit deeper, but most everyone that you see on camera doing video, whether we're talking about, who plays Kylo Ren? Remind me of his name.
Oh man, you put Adam Driver?
Adam Driver. Yes.
Confident?
Whether we're talking about Adam Driver, who actually has a very, very hard time seeing himself on video, or whether we're talking about me or Kevin, or, you know, another sales professional that you see, we've all had to work through some of these at one point or another. Why don't you go ahead and launch those poll results?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end that and share that with everybody so you guys can kind of see. So it hung pretty close to what you mentioned there, Alicia. You know, 56% are feeling that fear, they aren't comfortable yet. I appreciate those of you that are honest, going, I just don't know if I'm sold on this video thing yet. That's great. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad we can be talking about this. And then the technology and the time. I think those are issues that are always going to be there. What's so interesting looking at this and looking at the what's holding you back piece is we're always going to be able to find these excuses. We're always going to be able to find things that will not allow us to try new things or work through this change management. So hopefully we're going to talk through some of that, name some of that stuff for you today, and then give you some real life things that can help you kind of propel you forward as you keep working on this. So Alicia, you teased this, you talked about self-limiting beliefs. Yeah. What are those in general? How would you describe those as just a very high level for people?
Yeah, I mean, self-limiting beliefs are really anything that is internally keeping you from the success that you can have. These are beliefs or expectations that you have about yourself or the world that are holding you back from the success that you could have. That's really all it is, right? And I think the powerful thing about working through some of these self-limiting beliefs that are keeping you from doing video is that these have nothing to do with video for the most part, right? These self-limiting beliefs, some of them, they're already there, and being willing to take a look at them and to work through the uncomfortability of changing the way that you feel about yourself and about the way you present yourself or the way you look or the way your voice sounds, these are going to bleed into other areas of your life. So, you know, this first real key, I think, to reframing some of these self-limiting beliefs is that this is like the most normal of all human experiences, right? There are very few people that I have ever come across in my 38 years on this planet that do not have things that they're uncomfortable about with themselves. Like I mentioned Adam Driver. I quite often use celebrities as an example when I'm talking about this like insecurity of seeing yourself on video. Adam Driver has like a rider in most of his contracts when he's doing press tours and press junkets and interviews that they will not show a clip from the movie while he's there, because it produces such insecurity and like anxiety in him that it takes him out of his job of talking about the film. So I have a really great story for this one, because I was in Nashville last week. I was finally back on the road. I love being on the road. I love being with people. And I got to teach my first live and in-person class last Wednesday for a real estate agent, or his team. Actually, it was Gary Ashton. He runs the #1 Remax team in the entire world.
No big deal.
So I was talking to his agents, and Gary said the #1 problem his agents are having is adoption. We all know this, right? People tell us all the time, I'm not using it as much as I would like. So I did a session and I talked a lot about this fear and working through it. So the next day I was with Gary, and he got a phone call from one of his agents, and he listened for about a minute or so. And then he's like, hold on, Chris, I've got Alicia in the car with me. I'm going to put you on speakerphone, tell that story again. So his agent, Chris, starts telling the story. Now, Chris already had a BombBomb account, but what he said was that his #1 problem had been that he would always record the video, watch it back, delete it. Record the video, watch it back, delete it. And he could never get over that like insecurity of just sending the video. And so he would end up sending the plain text email because doing the video was too long. He couldn't get over himself. So after the session on Wednesday, he decided he was just going to commit himself and do 50 videos on Thursday to non-converted leads. So these were leads that he had been reaching out to that hadn't responded to him. So when he called Gary to tell him the success story, he had already sent out 40 videos. He had gotten 2 responses, but one of the responses was from a $3 million cash buyer who watched the video and then responded to Chris and said, Chris, like, you're a sharp guy. I want to go look at properties. Right? So just like just pushing past that and saying, I'm going to do it anyway, right? I'm going to do it anyway, resulted in a $3 million deal for him.
Well, I think, gosh, I mean, for those of you that said you're not sold on video, well, there's a good story for you, right? I mean, that's a great story of that this is working. But I think this is such an important thing for us to talk about. I've already seen some Q&As and some chats. Somebody said, I'm seeing all these chats about, I think it was, I don't remember the name of everybody saying we all need to love ourselves and we're all beautiful. And they're like, yeah, that's all well and good. But what if we really do have a face for radio? That's what they said in the Q&A. And I appreciate the honesty. I love the conversations that are happening. So keep this going on this. What I want you to know is not only that we all have insecurities, right? And this bleeds into kind of our second self-limiting belief is that we are all our own worst critics. I will use myself as a perfect example of this. I have got some insecurities that I'm not super excited about, right? I have this gap in my teeth that I've had since I was like 9 years old. You think I'd get over it at this point. If I see a picture of myself smiling, it's the number one thing I look at right away. Is this silly gap, right?
Isn't that crazy how we do that?
It's crazy. I've got these little like these bags under my eyes. I don't know, but they come out when I smile. I don't want to stop smiling because I have bags under my eyes, right? And then I've realized recently, the number one thing that's getting hard for me as I'm passing my mid 30s, right? Getting in that range is my hairline's going back. It's going the wrong direction. And it feels really weird to just be telling 450 people that I don't know that is my thing. But I'm really insecure about it. My wife laughs at me. She's like, nobody notices that. The reason I want to point these out to you guys is not to be like, oh, poor Kevin and his insecurities. It's because my gut is probably telling me that most of you did not notice any of those things about me.
Bing, 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 bing.
We sit and we fixate on these things, right? I'm sure you guys could go through. Todd, yes, my thin hair is my biggest fear. I love the honesty that you guys are bringing right now. And it feels very vulnerable and nerve-wracking to tell you guys all those things. But I want you to know that, because to those of you that are sitting going, I'm not attractive enough, or I don't look the right way to be on video, that's not true.
Not true.
We don't want you to look like newscasters. We don't want you to look like celebrities, right? Adam Driver, there's a laundry list of actors and actresses. Leonardo DiCaprio, Javier Bardem, Reese Witherspoon. I think we would all agree, we probably think these are good-looking people. These are attractive people. They are just as insecure as we are. There is quote upon quote upon quote, if you go Google this, of them saying, I don't watch my videos because I only see these negative things and it affects my future work. It affects how I'm going to be in the next movie that I'm in. And that's bad, right? And so I want you guys to hear that there really is not a right or wrong. There's not an attractive or unattractive. There's not a beautiful and not beautiful. It sounds so, I don't know, whatever. It sounds very like rose colored to say these things, but I want you to know that it's not about any of that. It's about you being you. And you being the best version of yourself that you can be. You are your best asset, not the video piece. The video is just the conduit that gets you across. I'll get off my soapbox because I know you've got more to add to this, Alicia. But
it's the perfect lead into this third point here, though, which is you are more than the things that you don't like about yourself. You have so much value to offer your clients, the world, your family, the people around you. And it has nothing to do with your bald head or your crow's feet, or if you feel like you're 50 pounds overweight, or maybe you feel like you're 100 pounds overweight. The value that you have to offer the people around you and the world and yourself has nothing to do with these things. We pretty much all know who Oprah Winfrey is, right? I don't know if there's a person that doesn't know who Oprah is. Maybe not. So Oprah has had a very honest and public battle with her weight and with her appearance for pretty much her entire career, right? This is something she's talked really openly about for years. We watched her weight go up and down, up and down. Well, back when Oprah Winfrey was offered the Oprah Winfrey show on WGN back in the 80s, right? So she had been doing news stuff. She was offered her own show. At that point in time, when Oprah was offered the Oprah Winfrey show, was probably at her lowest for how she felt about her body and the way she looked. There was no part of her that felt confident about getting on front of camera for her own show in front of the world, but she chose to do it anyway. And if Oprah Winfrey had not chosen to step into the value that she had that exists outside of these other things, outside of the meat suit, right? Like, it's a meat suit. If she hadn't chosen to step into that value and say yes and take that opportunity anyway, none of us would know who Oprah Winfrey is, and Oprah Winfrey would not be a billionaire. So your vulnerabilities, these self-limiting beliefs, these negative things that you think about yourself are holding you back from the real value that you have to offer. So, I mean, we're gonna talk about some practical things for these, but if the message that you can walk away with here today is that you are more than the things that you don't like about yourself, I'll feel good about it.
Well, and I think it's good too. I think we're all probably thinking about specific things about ourselves that we're insecure about. But let's talk about kind of insecurities and vulnerabilities for 2 seconds here, just in kind of a general sense. What are they, right? A lot of times they hold us back because there's a nervousness around that. But what is a vulnerability? I think it's hard to kind of put concept to that. I mean, if you guys have heard of Brene Brown, I'm a huge Brene Brown dork. She just released a new book, actually, that I'm thrilled to read. But she challenges a lot of this stuff: courage, vulnerability, shame, a lot of these things. And she puts really good research and name to it. So if you like this topic, highly suggest just research her, look up some of her stuff and her audibles. She actually reads all of her audibles if you're an Audible person. So it's awesome. It's got her context, but she actually talks about a lot about vulnerability in a lot of her books. And I really liked this definition, and I wanted to share it with you guys because I think it puts some actual concept to what is vulnerability, right? We think of that as a really negative thing. If I'm being vulnerable, then that's negative because people could come back and say that's bad. But I like that she defines this as not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome. Oh, that's nerve-wracking, right? And I think that's why when we fixate on these insecurities and this nervousness on video, really what makes us uncomfortable is that we're taking these things about ourselves and we're sending them out into the world and hoping that people will accept those. And we can't control that outcome one way or the other. I want to challenge you that that's okay. Vulnerability has opened up some of the best places in my life, just like that Oprah story that you just shared, Alicia. 100%. When you're willing to enter that space, you will be shocked at how people will respond to that, right? You'll be shocked at how encouraging. She even talks about how those humanities, those insecurities are actually what bring us together. That is our humanity. That's what makes us real. That's what makes us connect, is because we see a real human and we go, oh, I like that person. I could work with that person. 9 times out of 10, it has nothing to do with what you look like or who you are. It's, oh, I saw something on your wall. The amount of comments I get about the hats on my wall, that people are like, dude, you got a great hat collection. It's like, well, yeah, half of those are my wives, but thank you. You know, you never know what people are going to connect with. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I think it's just good perspective to know part of this challenge. And what I want to challenge you guys on today is to enter into that space when we can't control it, when we don't know what's going to happen, because I think you will be shocked in mostly good ways about what that response is.
I have never, ever had someone tell me a bomb story, because I hear a lot of stories, and I've never, ever had someone tell me a story that they sent a video to someone and someone responded with something like negative about their appearance or about the video. Yeah, sometimes it's like why are you contacting me? I don't know you. If you're like sending cold videos, but I have never, ever had someone tell me that the response they got from a video was like, your face shouldn't be on video, or like, never, because that's not where the recipient's mind is.
Yeah. So let's start talking through a little bit of this tactically, right? Let's start talking about some of these things we've talked about, and let's give actual solutions and ways that you can kind of think through that. So the first one we mentioned here is I don't like the way I look and sound. All right, solve that for everybody, Alicia.
Listen, if I had a magical wand and I could make sure that you all felt like you were perfect, I would do it. But in the meantime, we have to work on disengaging from the negative voices in your head. I don't care if we're talking about video or walking into a room or getting on stage. You've got to disconnect and disengage from those negative voices and focus on your value, because that is what you have to offer. So your challenge, is to write down 3 things that make you good at your job, and have those. I mean, if you need to put those on a Post-it and put them by your camera so that before you record a video, you can remind yourself of the things that make you good at your job and why you want to help this client, or why you want to build the relationship with this client, or whatever it is, it's going to help you, right? I mean, I know it seems cheesy, but affirmations actually work. Saying out loud to yourself the value that you have makes a difference. So that's my best tip, right? I cannot wave the magic wand and make you see yourself as perfect, even though I think you are. But that's my best tip.
It's
Focus
interesting
on your value.
I was just on vacation with my wife this past weekend, and one of our friends gave this. It's called Managing Oneself. It's actually an essay that came from the Harvard Business Review about different types of people and how they manage business and how they grow within business. And one of the things they said in here that fits perfectly with what you just said, Alicia, was they said so many people try to fix all the things they're not good at. We try to take the bad to mediocre, and we spend so much time in that space. What if we focused on the things we're good at and made ourselves world-class, right? Oh my gosh, that just like connected for me as I'm sitting here staring at this book too. Yep. Imagine if you were just so excellent at those couple of things, and it might feel corny. You would be shocked at how many times that little sticky note has gotten me through some tough days at work. So do not be ashamed of that. Be proud of those things.
You might think it's corny, but you would be shocked at how many wildly successful millionaires and billionaires do self-affirmations for themselves on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So
really, really helpful. All right, so let's jump into this, because there've been a lot of questions around this one as well. I don't know what to say. Now, scripts. Alicia, give in as quick a form as you can. What are your beliefs on scripts and those sort of things?
So Kevin and I are both actors. We have a background in acting, both of us. And I will tell you, none of you are good enough actors for you to read a script that someone else has given you and make it sound like your own. Maybe a couple of you are. I shouldn't say none of you are. Okay. Here's the deal. Video, the reason why this is powerful, the reason why Chris from Nashville got a $3 million cash client was because he showed up as himself. When you try and read a script, it's going to sound robotic. It's going to sound fake. What we coach to, and what we really hope that you will embrace, is the idea of a formula or a framework, or bullet points. Because if I give you a script and tell you what to say for that first touch lead response video, you're going to be so focused on using the words that I gave you that you're not going to be focused on what you need to do, which is connecting. So we really teach to the idea of formulas. And if you want to talk about the intention and recipient here, Kevin, because this is really the best way that you can set yourself up.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get lost in the, how do I do this perfectly? How do I do this well? How do I make this right? And I don't know if you heard consistencies with all 3 of those sentences I just said, but they were all I. The focus is so easy to get on ourselves. I know when I was sitting in sales, right? When I was sitting in a sales chair, just like many of you are, it was so easy to focus on, I need this to hit quota. I need this to come through. I need this sale today. And it gets very, very self-focused. And one of the things, and Michelle, I just saw that you posted Ray just posted the link to the book that we just released as well, Human-Centered Communication. The whole idea on this concept is, how do I think about the other person? How do I think about the recipient? How do I think about the solution that I can provide for them? It's not about, I want you to buy this product. It's, I want you to buy this product because it can do X, Y, and Z, or it will help you in whatever way.
Yep.
And so thinking about the recipient, the one of the biggest takeaways I've had from this concept of human-centered communication is equal playing field, right? It's
Yes.
just as important to keep the recipient on an equal playing field as my needs and as the sender's needs. And if you can think about that and take, honestly, 10 seconds before you record the video and go, who am I sending this to? Why is this video and why am I beneficial to them? You will be shocked at how that's going to change the way that you record that video.
Yep.
And your intentionality behind it.
Yep.
And
even, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, even just, the thinking about your recipient and the intention, as an actor, I can tell you the difference when you are doing a monologue versus if you are just saying the words, reading a script, versus actually visualizing the person that you are speaking to in that monologue. It changes the game. And it's the same thing with your videos. You reading a script is not going to come across the same way on video as you thinking about the person you are speaking to and speaking into that camera as if you are speaking to that person. Changes the game.
Yeah, the words can be really well written, but if your intentionality is not there, if you don't understand your desire for those things, it's going to be flat. It's going to come, and that's, again, video is the conduit. Video is not the solution. You are the solution. You are the best asset that brings these things. Video just shows that. It just allows that to come through in a more impactful way than just a bunch of text, right? So that's why we keep pushing video.
And if you need formulas, if you need the frameworks, our resource hub has tons of them. And the resource hub is broken down by role, as well as what kind of success you're looking for. I'm trying to remember what we called it.
Like goals versus roles.
Goals, exactly.
Goal-based versus role-based, yeah.
So if you go under the goals and you are trying to, convert leads, for example, then you can find frameworks in the resource hub to kind of guide you through, like, what main points, right? What should the anatomy of your video look like? And then you get to use the words that sound like you.
And I think the interesting thing to take some pressure off for you guys is there's no perfect formula. There's no perfect script. There's nothing perfect in the way to say any of these things. Find what gets across your mission and your intention in the best way possible. And if a formula, I mean, we talked about some stuff. Morgan J. Ingram is somebody who's in the book that we talked about last month, and he's got a formula. The first 10 seconds, he does this. The middle 40 seconds, he does this. The last 10 seconds, he does this. We've talked for years about this empathy, value, call to action kind of formula, right? Where I need to empathize and connect with them at the beginning. Value has got to be a huge portion of this. And then what do I want from them? What is the call to action? Those are really, really simple formulas that you can use and make it your own. And it fits with so many different intentions and so many different types of.
And you're going to sound so much more authentic. If you take the formula and put your own words to it, as opposed to using someone else's words and trying to change one or two words that just doesn't sound right to you, which leads us to our next point. Your authenticity is your greatest asset here, right? The perfectionism, I'm worried about it not looking professional, or, I can never get my videos to look perfect, which is why I never send them. Let me tell you, bad videos, and I don't mean bad videos. I mean a video that someone was like, oh, like it wasn't perfect or whatever. We have amazing success stories from those kinds of videos where someone like flubbed a word or, just that type of thing, because people can connect with it. Our BDR and our SDR team here at BombBomb, they're really getting creative and having the time of their life with some of their outbounding videos. Because if you are in a cold outbounding role, you know that cold outbounding is hard. It is hard. And this team, what I love about it is, especially because a lot of them are outbounding to like executives, and they are being silly. They're like, I saw one of them, I was walking through the office a couple weeks ago, and he had like a parka on with like a winter coat with like the hood zipped up. And he had like his whiteboard that said, this email may be cold or something. It was something like that. But here's the thing, like their humanity in being willing to like be creative and have some fun is actually winning them opportunities, because I don't care who you are, whether you are a highly, highly paid executive at a top level company, or whether you're me, we all appreciate humans being humans. Right? No one looks at like a robotic, perfect, scripted, newscaster reading the news and being like, oh man, I just really connect with them. But you know what we can connect with? We can connect with the guy doing the interview on CNN whose kid walked in the room, right? In the back room, and the wife comes climbing in on the floor trying to like get the toddler out of the room because dad's on like a live interview. We can connect with that. That goes viral because we recognize people's humanity.
Yep. Everybody with kids went, oh my gosh, I can imagine what that would feel like. On a heart level, we connected with him, right?
Yeah.
That's what's so great about it. And I think I will never say that COVID has been good in any way, shape, or form. I do think there have been lessons we have learned from going through this. And that connection between our human selves and our work selves, right? That personal and work connection has caused some gray. It's caused a lot of gray, if we're being honest. But I think it's really brought up this idea of professional. What is professional, right? This is a word I've been hearing a ton as we've been trying to figure out, like, what's professional in my background? What do I let people into? Is it okay if X, Y, and Z? Put yourself in the recipient's shoes and go, what would I want to interact with? What would I be okay seeing? I'm hoping and assuming that most of you are not offended that I have a pink dresser behind me. That's just what I've got to work with right now, right? I've got 3 kids. My house is full. This is where my office is. And I have never had somebody be like, how dare you? How dare you show me those hats or your wedding picture that I can barely see up here, right? So it's something that I think we weigh a lot. In fact, Lauren Bailey, who is an amazing, amazing woman. Find her on social media. She's incredible, but she also is the president and founder of 2 companies, just because she didn't have enough going on, Factor 8 and Girls Club. And she actually had a quote. She was somebody that was interviewed in our human-centered communication book. And I just loved the way that she spoke around this, right? She says, there's nothing that moves you into a trusting relationship faster than connecting with somebody at a human level. People get robotic because you're trying to be professional. And my advice is to stop trying to be professional and be a human.
Yeah. Because you as a human, you're already a professional human, right? You are already in a professional job. Like, obviously there's boundaries, right? Don't show up on video in your pajamas. Or maybe if there's a specific purpose for it, like you're inviting people to a movie night or something, but you're already a professional person, right? Like, it's unlikely that if you are at home, if you're being allowed to work from home, that your boss is super worried about whether you know how to interact with clients or not. Like, just, you get to be a human being. It's so powerful.
And humans are way more interesting than professionals, right? Than this kind of idea. And what's really interesting too, to break this down one more level, is what is professional? Everybody's definition of professional is completely different.
Exactly.
Right? And it depends on your industry. It depends on who you're reaching out to. I am going to handle those things different if I'm sending a video to Alicia versus I'm reaching out to a CTO of some company that I've never worked with before. Yeah. Yes, I am going to handle that differently. But that doesn't mean I change my whole background and erase everything of who I am. So don't let this concept of professional, whatever that definition may be, don't make the assumption that what you think is professional is automatically what your recipient is going to think is professional. So even if you get lost trying to do that, you may still be wrong. So be you, be authentic. They will at least see the person and they can connect with the person. That is going to go a very, very long way. All right. So this last one here, let's touch on number 4, and then let's go through. We're going to give you some actionable things here in just a second as well to go on this. But this is new to me, right? I don't want to look silly. I don't want to be nervous. One of the questions that came in the Q&A early on, Alicia, for us was, how long did it take you until you got comfortable with this? Well, it'll only take you 5 videos. There's no formula for everybody, right? But repetition is big, right?
And our data does show us, our internal data does show us, that if we can get someone to record in the 5 to 10 video range, that they are going to keep up with it more likely, right? It's just getting over that initial hump. There's so many ways that I can recommend helping you just get some of that repetition. One, get a video buddy, right? Someone that you work with that is committed to doing video as well, and keep each other accountable. Is that 5 videos a day? Great. Keep each other accountable. Ray, who's helping out there in chat, posted a great video on LinkedIn this week about sending videos to someone you trust, right? Start there. If you are worried about sending a video to a prospect, someone that you haven't interacted with, well, then don't start there. Start by sending videos to people you know. Send a thank you video to someone on your team that did something helpful for you. That's not scary to send a quick thank you video to someone you know and say, hey, really, thank you for helping me out with that problem. I really appreciated it. So the repetition really is going to help you build that confidence. But, start with the people that you know, or, get that accountability buddy, and you got to stay up with it, because here's the deal. We've said this for years. I know this is true. Is every single video you send going to get you a $3 million cash client? No. However, if you use video as part of your communication, if you listen to us, okay? If you listen to the things we tell you, like how to place your video properly in an email with text above and below so that they actually see the video thumbnail, right? When you do these things, you are going to have greater connection and responses. I know it's true. So you got to keep up with it. Even if you're like, yeah, but I sent 10 videos and I didn't get a response. Okay, well, that doesn't mean that the videos were bad. It means that maybe we need to work a little bit on what your subject line was, or how did you frame the video, or what did you say right? Just because you may have sent videos and you didn't get a response, it doesn't mean that it's not going to work for you. It just means that we need to figure out how to get you those successes.
And also remember that this is not a golden bullet, right? Just because you send a video does not mean every email you send is all of a sudden going to get opened and responded to, and it's going to be this wonderful world. I saw some crazy stat that I think it was 140 billion spam emails were sent last year, or something insane like that. I mean, just I may be exaggerating that, so don't hold me on that, but it was crazy. Those are still out there. But how do we counteract that? It's by training our people that when they get something from us, it's real and it's us and it's human. Yep. And so that's why I want to, continue to challenge you to lean into this. Now, if you don't believe any of this, if you don't believe any of the stuff we've said, we brought in an expert that we think is going to really help build up your confidence and make you excited, make you ready to leave this webinar in the next little bit and just take on the day. Watch this video, because if this doesn't inspire you, then I'll keep trying.
Look, I can be a sark. Now my whole house is great. I can do anything good. I like my school. I like anything. I like my dad. I like my cousins. I like my aunts. I like my Allisons. I like my moms. I like my sisters. I like my dad. I like my hair. I like my haircuts. I like my pajamas. I like my stuff. I like my rooms. I like my whole house. My whole house is great. I can do anything good. Yeah. I can do anything good. Better than anyone. Better than anyone.
And she's out.
Yeah. I could do anything good. Yeah.
I can do anything better than anyone. That's a bold statement, and she believes it. So just a fun way to just continue to be confident in yourselves, build that up. So let's give you some things from an outside perspective, some quick tips here, and then we'll leave a few minutes. I mean, Ray and Michelle have been killing the Q&A and the questions and stuff, but we're always here to answer some of those. So let's talk about some things that we hear a lot that are tips that are brought up on a very, very regular basis. Lighting.
Yep.
Something that gets brought up. A lot of these things are technical things. So Alicia, what do you usually recommend with lighting?
So you always want to make sure that the light is coming onto your face and not from behind. So if you have like a window behind you, you may need to figure out curtains or shifting your camera or something, because if you have a lot of bright light coming from behind you, it's going to blow out the lighting. Your face is going to be dark and you're going to look like you're in the witness protection program, which is not what you want for your videos. So there's lots of ways that you can accomplish the front facing lighting. Like if you don't have a window, obviously natural light is great, but a desk lamp does a really, really good job. Now, sometimes here's your tip, because if you have a desk lamp and there's a wall behind you, you might actually get better light by pointing the desk lamp at the wall and letting it bounce off the wall than trying to shine it directly on your face. Just kind of diffuses it. It's like your bounce card, but from home. Or a ring light. Like I went ahead and just bought a ring light. So I got like a $29 ring light on Amazon. It's got 3 different phases really easily. I'm going to show you. It gives me different options for kind of light, right? I can make it brighter. I can make it dimmer. If I turn it off, it's real bad. But it's a ring light. It's a $30 ring light.
Don't go spend a bunch of money on equipment.
Oh, don't go spend a bunch of money.
Right? I mean, you can go buy those photography kits that are hundreds and thousands of dollars. You really don't need it. I mean, I'm sitting here. I'll even show you. I'll point this around. I got lucky and just have a window in front of me with blinds. The great part about blinds and curtains is you can open and close them as needed to kind of get the lighting right. So find a way that works for you, but know that the biggest things on this, don't go spend tons of money. You don't have to. You can get a really good quality thing for 20, 30 bucks.
Yep. And
make sure that you're not backlit. Those are really the biggest tips. If you've got those 2 things, that'll help you feel really confident. And just play with lights. If you've got a lamp, take the lampshade off, play around with it, sit in front of the camera, find what looks best for you at different times of the day.
But the lighting will make a huge difference in your confidence. There are times when I go to record a video and I'm like, oh, I look tired today. And I'm like, oh, I don't have my light on. Ding, ding, ding.
And now I look fabulous. Now, all right, let's talk about background. We've brought this up a couple of times already, but I think the biggest one that I want to touch on is not overthinking your background, right? We've already mentioned this idea, this concept. Do I want you to go record videos in your laundry room in front of piles of clothes? No, I wouldn't recommend doing that. That's probably not going to get the right thing across. Yeah. However, does that mean you need to hide your entire life so that it's acceptable and professional? Absolutely not. The amount of times we've got so many funny stories from people where they had a sports banner on their back wall and they were like, oh my gosh, I went to that college. Let's work together. That was the reason they liked him. Or somebody had a picture hanging on a fridge behind them that their kid drew. Oh my gosh, that reminded me of the kids' pictures I had on my kids' fridges. You're a family man. I connect with that. You never know what people are going to connect with or enjoy or build that like heart to heart connection, right? Allow yourself to be in these. And part of that is where you live, how you live, what your room looks like, those sort of things. So don't overthink it.
Yep.
Have it be cleaned up to where you are confident presenting that to people, but don't feel like you need to kind of edit everything around.
Yeah. And those little personal touches, again, come back to that human piece, right? Like it is way easier for someone to connect with you when they have a little bit of a sense of who your humanity is, as opposed to like if every single one of your videos was recorded with a white blank background, which brings us to the topic of virtual backgrounds.
This is always a good one to talk about.
It really is. If you have a copy of Human-Centered Communication, or if you're ordering one, or if you're gonna read it, it's interesting because there's some difference of opinions from our 11 experts, even on virtual backgrounds. So, I'll give you my opinion, and Kevin might have a different opinion, but I in general think virtual backgrounds look cheesy. That's my personal opinion, especially because it's a virtual background for the most part. It takes away some of that authenticity and humanity. However, there are times when a virtual background can really help you. For example, if you are prospecting to a company that just won an award and you wanted to pull up a virtual background and put like their company logo and the award on the background behind you, well, that could really help you get attention, especially if you're like cold prospecting, because they see that, they recognize it, they see their company logo, they're excited. Oh, this guy did his research, right? So it can help you get attention. But more often than not, I think the virtual backgrounds look weird. And someone just said it right there in chat. Scott said, when you move around, the virtual background becomes obvious. Or Beth said, don't like them because often the person looks fuzzy. Like I'm with you. And we put them in our platform. You have an option to add a virtual background in BombBomb, but 9 times I would say out of 10, you are doing a disservice to yourself by using a virtual background. But that's just my opinion.
You know, it's interesting that the way I think about it's pretty similar to yours, but the way I like to think about it is if I'm using a virtual background to get away from something or hide something, I don't love it. If I'm using it to go towards something and be intentional with something, I can totally see the reason behind it, right? If I'm being intentional with their branding or their logo or the award like that you were describing there. Mario Martinez from the book talks about how he loves virtual backgrounds for that purpose, because we can grab their branding and bring it in and have that be in the video with us talking. So now there's a built like connection, an emotional connection between those two. So if you're leaning into that, I'm all about it. I will be honest with you. My graphic design skills are not good enough where I feel comfortable making a new background for every person I'm reaching out to. So I typically don't use them. Now, we were talking about how long it takes to get comfortable too. I mean, Alicia, I don't know how many videos are in your account. I'm at like 9,000. I'm sure you've got to be above that. If
I'm somewhere in the 10,000 range.
Yeah. So we've been doing this for a very long time. There is very little that will come up in a video that makes me question, is this okay to send? I think we've just sent so many, we've seen so many great responses that it's not something we question. So ultimately, I want you to do what makes you feel the most confident. If you feel confident and you're going, there's no way I'm sending this video unless I use the virtual background, throw that virtual background on, send the video. If you're going, I'm okay with this, I can feel confident and still be in this with my background, then don't, right? So use what makes you feel the most confident, because that will come across in the video more than anything else, is your confidence in the way you present yourself. So let's talk a little bit about the last couple things. And I put this together as an acronym because I am very photographic memory. That's how I remember things. So acronyms, while they can get really ridiculous, and there can be way too many of them in the world, this is one that's helped me. So we call it the STEPS method. So these are just a couple of things to consider before you hit the record button. And again, the idea is not for you to be overwhelmed and feel like I have to nail all of these things. It's so that you can feel really confident when you click the record button, right? So somebody mentioned this in chat earlier that I saw, this was probably 30 minutes ago, smile, right? Smiling is so important. It actually physically is infectious. When you see somebody smile, the part of your brain that receives that, I don't remember the name of it right this second, actually makes that person want to smile. It triggers parts in your face that make you want to smile as well. If you can make somebody feel good just by smiling at the beginning and end of your video, that's a win. That's a huge win. You're making people feel really happy. So always bookend your videos with a smile. You don't need to sit like this the whole time during your entire video, right? I mean, there's limits to any of this. But get a real authentic you smile. And however you have to come up with that, do it, right? Yeah. Cheat. If you need to put a picture of your spouse or your friend or watch a funny video before you start recording yours, do whatever. Just so that that's really authentic. It's a really, really important piece. Time. This was a question that came up in the Q&A. What's your recommendation around time of video?
So a lot of that depends on the purpose of the video and who you are sending it to. So ideally, you know, a video where you're introducing yourself to someone, where you're following up after a meeting or a phone call, or you're just reaching out to connect or check in or say thank you. Ideally, those videos probably around 60 seconds. For a first touch video, someone you've never met before, I would say the sweet spot is like 45 seconds, right? Because we timestamp that video for you. Now, can you record a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minute video in BombBomb? You sure can, but you need to be really sure about the purpose and who you're sending it to for it to even be worth your while. For example, if Kevin was my client and he left me a voicemail or sent me a text message asking a question, and I recorded a video answering that question and giving him like detailed information, well, that video, I could probably get away with it being 2 or 3 minutes if the value was there for answering his question, because that's information he wanted. It's information he needs, and it's going to save both he and I getting on the phone and spending 10 minutes on the phone with each other. by him watching that 3-minute video. So you can get away with a longer video as long as it's full of value. The purpose is like, they know it, they want it. And the recipient knows you. Okay. You are never, ever going to get someone who doesn't know you to play a 3 or 4 minute video. I'm just telling you, they're not going to do it.
Yeah, totally agree with all that. Kind of the general rule of thumb I live by is the less amount of time I've known somebody, the less time this video is going to be. The more amount of time I've known them, the more time I have to work with. Right.
Yep.
So, but 60 seconds, really good rule of thumb. 60
Yep.
seconds and under is where I keep 90% of my videos. So
Yep. Same.
eye contact. This is a really important one. One aspect of this is technical. Where do you put your camera?
Yep.
Always right about eye level. If you want to put it even a little bit above eye level, that's okay too. Where you don't want it is down here.
Yep.
You don't want to be looking down onto your camera. Trust me, if you're nervous about how you look on camera, that is not going to help. When you get on like this, you're like, oh, geez, the shadows and the things and the wrinkles and the rolls and all the stuff you don't want will show up, I promise. Yep. So that's important. But the really important aspect too is make eye contact and look at the actual camera. This is one that's going to take time to work on and get comfortable with. But it's the difference of me sitting here and looking at you like this and talking like we're making a connection and making eye contact versus me staring at myself on my screen and talking to you in the exact same way. I've not changed my mannerisms. I've not changed the way I'm speaking, but it doesn't feel like I'm connecting with you at all right now, right? So learn to work that angle. Find a way that allows you to feel comfortable. Does that mean you have to stare at it your whole video? No, of course not. That's not real life. But look at it, look away, come back to it. That is the person you're talking to. And it will make a really big difference on how that feels in the video.
It really will. I have had clients tell me before that they keep like a folder or a piece of paper that they use while they're working on getting comfortable with it, that just keeps, they block their screen with the folder so that when they're recording their video, their eyes can't drift down to themselves and they have to look right in the camera. But just do whatever you need to do. But yeah, just like he said, you're making eye contact with that little pinhole camera so that when the person watches it back, they feel like you're making eye contact with them.
Yep. It's really important. Now, P, personal. So we're through the step portion now. What do we mean by personal? If you're doing one-to-one videos, personalize that. And what I mean is personalize it visually, right? You're going to say their name. Hey, Alicia, it's Kevin here with Bomb Bomb. But what if I'm able to start the video like this? Hi, Alicia.
I was going to pull up my app. You already did it.
I had it prepped, but it doesn't matter what you use. We've got whiteboards. Use a sticky note, use a piece of paper, use an app on your phone. The app that I just used, in case anybody is curious, on an iPhone, it's called Make It Big. On an Android phone, it's called Large Text. There's more than just those, but those are ones that we have used that we really like. So just for some references, but allow them, especially if this is a new person, if they pull up and see your animated preview and you smiling and holding their name up, they're going to go, who is this person and what are they saying about me? I'm going to click play on that video because I'm curious. Give them that visual representation because we do have to draw them into why they should watch the video, right? They need to know it's about them. You can do general personalizations as well, things that are more topical rather than a name. If you're sending it out to multiple people or it's an evergreen video you're going to use time and time again, but love that. It works. It may feel silly. You only hold it up for the first couple of seconds and then drop it down and keep talking just like you would in a normal video. So personalize it.
Yep.
The last piece here, and this is, I'm getting really Inception style here. I've got an acronym in an acronym. That's how cool we're getting these days, right? This is a Lauren Bailey acronym that's called SWIFT. And what it stands for is, so what's in it for them? The reason I added this did not used to be in there and I added this is because I want you to think about these things about yourself and then guess what? Forget about it. Forget about yourself. Think about the person. We've talked about the recipient and the intentionality. If you start into your video with just a couple of these things in mind and then thinking and focusing on them, that will be a great video, regardless of how it turns out, regardless of if you forget your lines, your words, what you're trying to say, regardless if you need to take a second to catch your breath or you're saying ums and uhs, it doesn't matter. If your intentionality is there and you're connecting with that person and making that effort, they will feel that. That's what's powerful. And they will get the value that you're trying to get across.
Well, and that's how you focus on the value, right? The number one way for you to have success with your videos is by providing value for the people that are opening that video. And that act does, so what's in it for them is the best way to make sure that your video is rich with value and it's not just a talking head.
Yep. All right, everybody. I know we're really close to the top of the hour, so we always want to be respectful of your time. Let's just recap real quick here, right? We all have these self-limiting beliefs that we talked on. You are not alone. We all feel that. Lean into those. As hard as it is, lean into your vulnerabilities, own your vulnerabilities, and you'll be shocked at how those vulnerabilities are what are going to connect you with other people. You'll be blown away, I promise. Yeah. Lighting, background, camera will help you all be more comfortable. So think about those things, but don't get lost in that by any means. Alicia, were you going to add something in there?
There was one question in Q&A that I just want to answer. Yeah. Julie wanted to know, you mentioned where to place the video and how much text is above and below. Where do I find these types of recommendations and resources? The Resource Hub. I want to direct you guys towards there. There is so much value in the Resource Hub. Julie, I can tell you real quick, you want to make sure you have at least one line of text above your video and at least one line of text below the video. The text above should tell them what's in it for them when they play that video. The text below is just a thank you, but it makes sure that the inbox doesn't truncate the video. But the Resource Hub, you can go to the Resource Hub. All of our past webinars are there. You'll be able to access frameworks. You'll be able to access tips and tricks and all of that. But the Resource Hub is the best place to go to find some of that deeper training.
Yep. It's great. I'm going to give you a little bit of homework, those of you that are still around, because I know we ran a little bit long, but we mentioned your safe list, your safe people early on in this, right? Your people. Find those people. If you're feeling nervous about sending videos, find your safe areas and reach out to them, right? Send them a video and be honest. Ask for their feedback. I guarantee they're going to come back and say, I loved it. Maybe give you one thing to work on a little bit. That will help you feel more comfortable as you're sending out to actual leads, actual clients, and those sort of things. But ask them their opinion, reach out to the people that you trust and are safe. And I think you will be shocked at how much of their feedback is, I loved it.
Yeah,
that's going to be a majority of what you're going to see back, but it feels way easier to dive into that one as people that you know and trust. Yeah. So I feel like, man, Ray and Michelle killed the Q&A and some of the chats and stuff. Is there anything else that you saw that we need to touch on, Alicia, before we jump off here?
Michael Scott, which is this the real Michael Scott?
It has to be.
We have Dunder Mifflin in the house. Michael Scott asked about glasses. We've had this conversation every time we've talked about this. I don't wear glasses. Kevin doesn't wear glasses. There are people that recommend that wear glasses that say like anti-glare or lenses or whatever, but there's not really any way around it. If you are recording videos and you have glasses, there's going to be some glare if your lighting is good.
The only thing I can say that will help is when Alicia was talking about bouncing it off of a wall versus a ring light shining straight at you, that will make that a lot softer than it will be. You can actually see the ring light on the glasses sometimes that I've seen with people.
Yep.
If you find a light that maybe even a little bit brighter that you can bounce and reflect off of a white wall or something like that, that may help with that. So I would play with that, Michael, if you're still looking into that.
Yeah.
Virginia, I just saw her chat come in about how long videos can last. We kind of answered that a little bit ago, about 60. They can last, 45 minutes. Don't send somebody a 45-minute video, please. They will not watch it. I promise. I don't care how good it is. So keep it around 60 seconds. That's our general rule of thumb for some of that sort of stuff. So I don't see anything else. Alicia, is there anything else pressing that you're noticing?
I don't think so. If you did have questions that didn't get answered, technical support questions, you can go to our support site. You can both search up topically and see if you can find the answer there, or you can jump on chat. Our support team does monitor the chat. So you will get to chat with a person if you really need help there, but check out the resource library. Check out our support site for technical questions.
You will get a recording of this webinar as well. If you want to go back and relook at any portions of this, you'll get an email in a few days that will have the recording. So you can definitely hop on and take a look at that. Thank you all. Thank you all for just being literally the best people in the entire world. We are so thankful for you here at BombBomb. We love this time that we get to spend with you. Thank you, Ray, for helping with all of those questions and being amazing there. Alicia, as always, thank you for your insight and your knowledge and your expertise. I learn a lot from you
Love
every time
being
we're on
here.
here. So thank you. We appreciate you all. Have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon. And we can't wait to see you in about a month or so when we do our next one. It'll be fun. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.